We will next hear about the QuickCourt system of the state of Arizona from Mr. Stephen Ventry and Lynn Waletsky. Mr. Ventry, I take it you will be the first off.
I guess that's the way it goes. Thank you. Good morning.
Not always, but...
For this particular session, yes. Divorce and domestic violence continue to grow as two of the most prevalent types of matters comprising the overall caseload of court systems nationwide. In Arizona, and particularly Maricopa County, which is Phoenix, domestic relations cases are beginning to overtake even the criminal justice system in both the number and the amount of judicial resources they require for their resolution. In 1993, more than 24,000 divorce cases were filed in Maricopa County alone, and of this number, 90% involved those cases where either one or both parties were self-represented. The combined effects of increasing complexity in the legal field and the decline in the utilization of attorney services in a state where, in fact, the provision of legal services is not regulated by law. These matters have given rise to the growth of an inadequately trained document preparation industry that feeds upon the poor, the illiterate, and the public at large. Likewise, the proliferation of poorly devised legal pleadings is taking a significant toll upon the time of judicial officers who must hear and decide cases. At the same time, it forces the perception that the access to the courts can only be available to those with money. The same perception easily begins to filter down to less complicated areas of small claims actions, landlord-tenant disputes, and the like. QuickCourt is an attempt to assist in reversing these trends by implementing easier access to the courts. By the use of an interactive multimedia computerized kiosk delivery system, Arizona is attempting to shift the burden of gaining access to the courts from the litigant to the court itself. The focus has been changed from a system which awaits those who are able to successfully navigate the maze leading to the courthouse steps today to one which provides not only the map but the keys to the court. What is novel about QuickCourt is that it provides physical access to the court from any of a myriad of locations. At present, we have 3 pilot sites which are located in court buildings and law libraries. These sites over the last 15 months have served more than 24,000 users. Of this number, few, if any, have needed any or required any independent assistance whatsoever. QuickCourt can be housed outside of public buildings and provide 24 access to the services of the clerk of the court in the same fashion as an ATM machine is being used by the banking industry today. QuickCourt provides intellectual access to the court by employing a system of scripting and language intelligible by persons who possess no more than a 4th grade reading comprehension. It is bilingual. It has demystified the legalese which so readily frustrates an ordinary layperson. QuickCourt provides uniform information in pleadings and can cover a variety of areas of law. In the future, we intend to have it developed so that we can allow QuickCourt to provide for electronic filing of pleadings with the court system and to assist us in Maricopa County in developing a one-stop self-service center for the self-represented litigant. We have found persons using the system, particularly women and non-English speaking litigants, become more self-assured by being able to do it themselves. Men and women seeking a divorce do not need to discuss personal finances nor divulge the otherwise embarrassing histories to a stranger. The computer accepts the information without comment or without evaluation. The perspective of the judge for QuickCourt has significantly changed as well. The judge now doesn't have to see people numerous times because of the inadequacy of their pleadings.
Courts are having to respond to the needs of society and become more customer-oriented. The response to QuickCourt has, quite honestly, far exceeded our own initial expectations. As Steve mentioned, we are planning expanding from the 3 initial pilot sites to 150 kiosks around the state in the urban as well as rural areas. And we want to place them in public settings such as city and county libraries so people can access them beyond a normal 8 to 5 workday week. We're going to add applications and eventually plan for electronic filing right from the kiosk. But expansion growth costs money. One of the unique things is that QuickCourt has now allowed software development companies to approach us to join them in forming a public-private partnership. This is a new approach for the courts. The system itself is very easy to replicate. The software and the hardware are not complex. You only need to adjust the program to fit another jurisdiction's rules and state laws. It's considered to be a model by the funding source which provided the seed monies to start QuickCourt, and that's a federal institute called the State Justice Institute. They refer courts who come to them to our system. We've received intensive local and international media attention. We've had requests for information from Australia and England, as well as our federal court system.
We'll begin our questions with Max Sherman, followed by Antonio and Jack.
When you read the materials, it seems, and you address some of it in your presentation, but that users of the system would have to be, it seems, at least literate, and you mentioned the 4th grade level, and also technologically secure. And it seems to me that the other aspect that you addressed in the 24,000 users is that it may well be that a person doesn't know to ask a question. And how do you deal with that issue?
The system was designed by, the scripting language that I mentioned, it was designed by judges, lawyers, members of legal aid societies, things like that. We used court interpreters to help us put this in both English and in Spanish. A perfect example of the answer to your question was the first week it was in operation. I checked with the library where it happened to be located, and I was told that that morning an individual, a Spanish-speaking woman, had come to use the machine. She was very humble, very nervous, very scared. Was simply shown where the machine was. When she came away from the machine, she had in her hand her divorce papers. She had an air of self-assured confidence about her, and all she wanted to know in a very demanding tone was, where's the copy machine? We ran the scripting language past 4th graders to make sure they could understand it.
How do you know that a person, if they don't ask for help, how do you know that they still don't need help?
If they ask for help, the librarian is about the same distance from the machine as you are.
But if they don't ask for it?
Then when they leave the machine, there's built into it a questionnaire which does a survey. If you had any problems, tell us what it was. We also kept statistics on when a person would quit the machine. For example, if someone left in midstream, we would know that by the statistics to say, okay, there's a problem here. At this question, they're being confounded somehow or other because there's a high percentage of people who leave at this time. We haven't seen that happen yet.
If I can add to that quickly, besides the narrative, the text that appears on the screen, we have a talking head, Victor, who actually walks people talking through an audio direction through every single step of the page of the script. And that's why people are telling us that it's more like interacting with a television than a computer.
Antonio, and then Jack, and then Hubert.
You indicate in your application that these machines are at a place library where there is a human person to sort of answer questions. You also indicate that you're going to expand. Will there always be a human resource person available should the individual request it?
We are planning on expanding initially into the library setting, and we'll have to work that out with the library staff, but we will provide intensive training for them. At one point, we were thinking about putting it also into shopping centers, and we can do that, but we do not want to put applications such as divorce or domestic violence orders of protection that we're looking at in such of a public setting.
Jack?
It's one thing to bring this kind of modern technology to bear on legal actions in which lawyers already are not involved. Is there any hope of extending this kind of service beyond pro se cases?
The hope, I guess there's always a hope. The problem is the limitations of the computer and artificial intelligence. As that may develop, perhaps that will be possible. At the present time, we have no vision for that. We do intend to incorporate things like inquiries about child support. We're, going into a shopping center and asking, where is my child support? Is it in the mail? Can I expect it to come from this particular machine?
But can the experience here encourage consumers or the state to try to simplify other kinds of legal process?
It has, in a sense, that what we have done, because of the uniform nature of the computer itself, it has forced judges and court systems throughout our state to abandon their idiosyncratic ideas of how processes should work and adopt a more common sense approach to using the court. Our forms have been simplified, and where there were personalities of presiding judges in particular counties saying, no, it's going to be done this way, or opposed. We simply go to them and say, you can't have it your way because it's not capable, and they buy into it.
Hubert?
You simplify a very complicated matter, you know, and I wonder what happens in divorce cases when there's a dispute with respect to the children or with respect to the assets. And if we're moving in a technological way to resolve these kind of complicated problems, aren't we also creating a separate system for people that have the wealth to afford the proper access to the judiciary and those that don't?
The difficult part of that, this will get the people in the door to the system, to the courthouse. When there are custody issues, for example, that are being raised, this machine can't help them other than to advise them that they may need proper legal counseling or services. We are developing, in conjunction with this, a self-service center where they can come in and at one time get all the information they need from the various agencies throughout the state in support of child support, child care, child custody. There comes a point in time where you need the brain of a human being, ordinarily called an attorney.
I got two quick questions here.
But not always.
In 1993, there were 24,000 cases that was handled without the aid of an attorney.
That's correct.
How many of those cases did the system that you have in place have anything to do with?
We have 24,000 cases that were handled by the system. Of divorce cases, my estimate would be somewhere around 5,000.
So that's 5,000 of the 24,000.
Yeah.
In the site visit report, I was wondering, the other question is, just in terms of the user-friendliness of the system, because you have stipulated that the system is so user-friendly that there are absolutely no questions raised about it. No one ever raises a question. And with technological things like computers, people always raise questions because there are always questions to be raised. And site visitors saw people raising questions that went to look at your system in the site report. How would you respond to that in terms of the accuracy of these assumptions that there are no need for no questions because it's so simplified?
There will always be a need for questions that we know. We tried to factor in as many different combination types of questions when we built the program as we could. The staff at the 3 sites had indicated to us that no one had asked for any assistance in actually completing an entire program. And that's what we had been reporting on. But as everybody comes in with a different perspective on that, and they might have a different question to ask, under different level of understanding, there will constantly be questions coming up, and we know that we will constantly have to be refining that and responding to that.
So there may, in fact, be a lot of questions being asked that don't really get captured.
None that we have heard of.